Thanks for joining us today on YouTube. We are coming at you not live, but recorded with two of the fellows from Chain Factory. I'll let them introduce themselves, but before we do, we have an affiliate link in the description below for Blowfin. They have their proof of reserves on Nansen, and we are in the DM with one of their business development guys. They fix everything that we ask them to fix. They ask for feedback, and we think that they're a really solid centralized exchange. In addition, they are running a massive tournament right now, so join our Discord to find out more, or you can check our Twitter. But we will move on to Chain Factory. How's it going, guys?
Thanks for having us.
For sure. Thanks for coming in to the server. McFly, you guys are familiar with McFly, yeah?
He's been with us for quite some time. We have, along with Chain Factory, we have another DeFi project, and he's been with us close to the beginning. He was one of the OGs that came there. So yeah, we've known McFly for quite some time. He's a good guy.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, McFly wanted us to talk to you guys. We looked at your project. We like what we see. So you guys just want to introduce yourselves and tell us a basic overview of the project, and then we can do a more deep dive as we go along.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll start. I'm Nathan. I'm one of the core team members, co-founders of Chain Factory. And Chain Factory has been a dream a lot longer than it has been a project. We started thinking and talking about Chain Factory about a year ago, almost a year ago now, and we didn't launch it until we knew we had a good working product, which was in December of last year, December 27th of last year we launched. It was a ton of upfront work, and it was a ton of research and just grinding before we had anything launched. So Chain Factory is a no-code builder project, and we'll get more into it there. I don't want to just start talking and not let a colleague here introduce himself.
Yeah, hello.
For sure.
Appreciate it. I'm Ben, Juniper77. Again, I don't know why I chose that years ago, but I'm Ben and Nathan and I are core team members. Yeah, we've been together for feels like a year and a half now, which in DeFi feels like maybe 10 years. Yeah, started it off, but yeah, like we like a lot of other projects that are legitimate, have a story kind of to tell that starts us down a path. So we have been in crypto for years and experienced a lot of the crap, I don't know what that comes along with it. And through that, you birth ideas and you create relationships and develop community. And so our team came together. Nathan and I represent half of the core team. We're the non-developers. But yeah, like we're equally driven to be innovative and see some sort of change in Web3 and in DeFi specifically. And we felt like we could start a project based on the talents in our team that would allow some control to come back to the non-developers and see if maybe we could change the scales a little bit, because we came from a history of being a part of projects where a lot of the times, not necessarily the whole team, but like the development side of the team failed or rugged or was the bad actor. So that's what heightened us to have this dream of, hey, what if we could we realize so many people in DeFi have no idea how to code, and they're just like whimsically trusting these teams or these developers. And we're like, hey, what if we could somehow create code in a way that is accessible to everybody? So that's how the vision of Chain Factory was birthed.
Yeah, from my own personal experience in the space, I think the biggest reason that I see projects that could be legit end up rugging is because devs think they can do everything and they can't. Devs do not know marketing. Devs don't know business structure. They generally don't know how to communicate very well in terms of community building and things of that nature. A lot of times these guys are like more on the autistic spectrum, I'll say. So they don't, which isn't a problem, but it's definitely a problem for the project. What was that?
I said our dev isn't on that spectrum, but I understand what you're saying.
Yes, I see it a lot, and that's what I like about what you guys are building so far, is that I think it'll give people the ability to enter the space without having to deal with finding the right dev. Because I've worked on projects, at least consulted on projects and stuff like that in the past, being in crypto now for 7 years or something. I don't even know what year it is, but yeah, something like that. But the projects that I've consulted on, it takes time to find the right devs, the right price point. There's a project budget and things of that nature. Finding the right dev in and of itself can be a big hassle. But if you have maybe more of a fundamental perspective, I think that's where you guys would come in, where it's like, hey, I have this fundamental conceptual framework that I want to bring to life, and then they come to Chain Factory, as I understand it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we built the software, and it's not a Telegram bot where you have to give away all your personal keys to your wallets. It's the full-on user interface on the website, and you go in there and build your own contract. And that was something that we knew early on, is people in the space have amazing ideas. When you get and you start talking with people and building these relationships, you start to realize a lot of people have a lot of really good ideas for a project, whether it's a utility project or a meme project. And it's that component that you just talked about, that the devs, and finding the right one that they work well with can often be the trick. And then finding one that they can trust can be even harder at times. And so what better way to find a dev than just to look in yourself and be able to build your own contract and know that you're not going to rug on your own project. You're not going to do anything shady or have some sort of backdoor in the code that you wouldn't even know about. So we're empowering people to take back that control when they've got the good ideas. And that's the thing that I love most about it.
For sure. Yeah, that's a big selling point. And I think that something like Chain Factory will have a lot of application going into the next bull run. Because last bull run, I knew devs that were getting paid just to build like a website. They're getting paid like 10 grand, 20 grand. And it's not normally how much it costs, but to find the guy that can build the dApp, right, you're gonna pay a lot. So if you can find something like Chain Factory, I think it's gonna give a lot of people an edge in the next bull run, which could really push things into the super cycle, which I think a lot of us are falling into that narrative and starting to see that's definitely a possibility for the next massive leg up.
Yeah, our team specifically was in a protocol where the lead basically was needing a new contract because his devs had vanished. And yeah, he paid like 25 grand to just get a new contract and tiny little dApp application. I think he was a part of it. And it wasn't even like great. And it's of course getting a hold of them. I changed my profile name to Relax Dev because there's some issues where whenever the team needed to get a hold of the dev, it was like they were on vacation or they're gone. And it was just impossible to get anything done. So you might get that first contract or you might get that dApp built. But I've also since then been in other projects where they have a staking dApp and the bot's not working or people can't access the staking dApp and nobody can get a hold of the dev that created it for them. And so there is all these bottlenecks. Like when you have a project and you don't have any of the control and you don't actually have a developer on your team that's doxed to you or KYC'd or somebody you know, which is very common in DeFi. Yeah, it's a huge bottleneck and it can cause people to lose millions. Like that's why we were like, hey, let's see if we can actually have projects be their own developer, like beginning to end. So like we started with this token forge that helps you create a token project. The idea of Chain Factory is this ecosystem of being able to develop your own dApp, your own staking dApp, being able to learn how to lock your own tokens, vest your own team tokens, like everything that's like a part of a DeFi project is like we want to create a UI where you can have the academy and the knowledge and the access to a community to help you figure out, hey, how can I do this myself? So if there's any problems, I can fix them. If I need to manage the contracts, I can still do that. So we do think there's a huge place for it as we grow into a bull run of a tokenization world where more and more people want to access the power of Web3.
100%. Yeah, for me, the big selling point for you guys is going to be the dApp building. And then, yeah, you have the token launcher and the anti-snipe function. And they're great and they're necessary, but I think really the point of differentiation for me in the business sense for you guys is really having that one-stop shop for everything that you could need, to launch a project. But you have to put all those pieces together. From what I've seen, it's a lot harder to find someone that can build a dApp in conjunction with everything else. Everything else is a little bit easier to find. You could find some guy on Fiverr to write you a smart contract for a token, right? And then your competitors have a bunch of launch bots and stuff like that now. But it sounds like you guys are definitely building in the right direction in terms of not only slowly differentiating, but differentiating straight from the beginning, because I think over time, as you guys keep going, it'll evolve in these different aspects, and the points of differentiation might turn into points of divergence in the blue ocean sense.
Yeah, and that's certainly what we're hoping. Like, we are by far not a first mover as a token builder project, but we are, like Ben said, and you touched on, right? Like, we're so much more than just that token builder. That's the entrance into the ecosystem of so many different services and offerings. And even within the token builder, we do feel like the product that we offer is in a sense a first mover with some of the functions that we have, because everything it's a modular contract. So it's like Lego that you can stack on top of yourself in that contract and pick what you want, and only that code gets added to your contract. It's not just a bunch of garbage code that makes your contract slower or maybe makes it cost more for people to buy the token. It's only what you want, it's only what you've chosen. And then we've also added some features where I haven't seen it anywhere else out in the space yet, that if you build through Chain Factory, part of that contract. Not a first mover in the sense of a token builder, but building those first mover parts. Like we have a multi-sig dApp builder, which we hadn't seen, or we'd seen a couple that just aren't being used anymore. So.
Yeah, no, I like the way you guys are headed. So if you guys could go over exactly which components are what and what stage you guys are at now, where you want to be, I think that might be a nice little segue.
Absolutely. Ben, you were the mastermind behind our lovely pitch deck here. So if you want to jump in, I could scroll through.
So blockchain solutions for the non-coder, I feel like I like that slogan. That's really what we're about. So what everybody's interested in, the elephant in the room is, it's nice to have transparent teams that work their ass off and really care and don't rug people and don't sell their tokens and invest and keep buying on the chart. and just trust in the whole process and view their project as a long-term, and that is who we are. But that doesn't always mean you're successful. And really, when you launch a token, so we launched a token because we wanted to have a proof of concept of our token forge. So we're like, hey, let's record on video Nathan creating our token contract and what that looks like so people can have an idea of what our UI is and how simple it is. Let's use our anti-sniper function and show a proof of concept in that way. So that's really like why we launched the token. But once you launch a token with a project, it's a Ponzi, like unless you have real revenue, like unless it's actually built to be a business where there's revenue that can sustain the chart or sustain people holding that token, have some sort of utility. So of course, like we knew that. We've been in the space long enough that if we're going to do this, we want to do it right. And so Chain Factory really in itself, we have this factory token that basically there's a revenue structure of our ecosystem. So like the first stage in the revenue structure is this token builder and deployer. Right now, like you said, there's other deployers out there. So we're always trying to think of how can we be not necessarily always the first to something, but be the best at something. So we're very passionate about like when we see things that aren't available in the space with token deployment through these non-coder tools, we try to make ours better. So we've already had, I feel like 5 or 6 upgrades since we first launched. So there's $60 to like $250 is like the general cost, depending on the chain you're on, depending on the gas fees. Obviously, if you're launching an Ethereum token through a token builder, your gas fees are going to be a little more extravagant than on base chain or BNB. So that's like the first revenue source is people launching tokens and deploying through us. Then we have our multi-sig custom dApp builder, which ranges between like $260 of cost. We hope to have a staking dApp builder, which then can also become a template builder for all kinds of different dApps that people want in the future. Like I said, we believe in community. And so if there's people in our community that are like, hey, here's a dApp that I want for my project or something I have in mind, our developers are happy to create that for people. And then we can template that for other people that they can customize themselves. I think there's a lot of options when it comes to dApp building. Our idea is that dApps will probably be between $500 and $1,500 to build for yourself. And then really where a lot of like the money comes in for projects that we're noticing is in like pre-sales and being like a launchpad ecosystem. So we don't have that developed right now. We actually have a lot of the code developed, but getting the UI and everything set up is a little bit of a different struggle and another form of development. So down the road, we're going to have liquidity lockers, vesting schedulers, and a pre-sale launchpad, which I think is huge for really creating legitimate revenue that will just really enhance our token. So right now we have our token structured where basically 50% of all the revenue that's received through Chain Factory goes to token holders. Right now it goes to buybacks. Actually right now 100% of our revenue is going towards buybacks. But in the future when the revenue becomes significant enough, it basically will look like 50% of all revenue will either go towards buybacks or we will create a staking dApp. Right now we're on Ethereum, so we're looking into, hey, maybe we should have a cross-chain network through staking so we can have staking on Polygon or BSC or some other network that has lower gas fees. So your rewards are going to be a little bit easier to take than on the Ethereum chain. So that's where we're at with the revenue. So I think we're at the very beginning stages of development. And so if you look at our token chart, we had a really successful launch. We have a great community of holders, but the development was starting to take a little longer than we thought. And so we've seen a little bit of a sell-off on our token. But now as a team, we're committed to the future of Chain Factory, that we've been buying up a lot of the supply in the lulls because we have no expectation other than to be doing this for a very long time. We're willing to wait, even though we know it's harder sometimes for token investors to wait. We as team members we know what we're building and we feel like there's a huge use case for it and we feel like there's a huge revenue source coming in the future. So we're bullish on our future. It just takes a while. It's a lot of development. And one thing, if you've been a project leader or if you have your own DeFi project, you realize that development isn't really something you can just really have unless you're hiring it out, which gets challenging. We love that everything we have is in-house, like through trusted doxed KYC team members. We literally are the best of friends. And so the development might take a little longer, but it's legitimate and it's moral and it's good and it's trusted. And so kind of like the waiting game worth it to us because we know that we're not putting investors in our project at risk because trusted team is doing it the right way.
Yeah, good things take time for sure. And I think we were talking about it in the beginning, but it's really crypto does not have the patience for good things taking a long time to build the right way. You know what I mean? We even get it in our community because we'll hear people saying, what's taking so long? And this, that, and the other. We're building a whole research library with integrated AI. We're going to have the bot in the Discord on the website. We have 3 algorithms that the dev, he was grinding for, I don't even know, like 9 to 10 months, and then they're finally in beta testing on Astrobit. So what you guys are building is even more labor intensive just because of all the working parts and stuff like that. So it's going to take a long time to build and build right. And I don't think something like what you guys are building can be built quickly. I think before when we were talking about it, you could throw 5 or 6 more devs at it for what? to get it done faster, and then you miss things here and there, and that doesn't really make any sense when you could just have one or two guys that are diligently working on it. They know what they're doing, and eventually the thing is going to be built. So that's my take, at least.
That's definitely been ours as well. We know that trust the people are in our group. We know, especially with what we're building, when we've seen what a dev can do, if we're providing people with a contract, we need to know 100% that there's nothing in there that someone else might have built into it. So we trust the people that are building on it. That's where we're at. And if it takes longer, like you said, it takes longer. And the true people who are with us and believe in us, we have a hell of a group that has stuck with us right from the beginning, our whale group, and some of our one advisor, a couple advisors that have just been amazing to stick with us and done right by us. And we couldn't be happier with where we're headed, even though it is taking longer. But having that support from those people makes it that much easier.
Definitely.
We got into this space right, knowing people are not in crypto and DeFi not make money, you know? So we're not stupid. We launched the token and we knew putting your feet on the fire, and people want to make profit. Like, your task as a team is to care about the project and to shepherd the community as well, and hopefully be honest, educated, forthright, try to meet deadlines. But as an investor in a token project, most people are not going to be super active in chilling and Twitter rating. They're mostly just going to really hope for high return in a short period of time. And I don't blame them for that. Like, I want the same thing in projects that I enter into. There's very few projects that I hold the token and I'm fine with the lull and the downs. It's usually because I know the team, what they've done. But even that doesn't mean I'm going to make profit. You know, it's more just, I just like supporting good projects. And it's more like that real world business entity that kind of can translate into DeFi. And it is challenging for that to succeed, because I think if you're doing things the right way, they take a little longer, or they take a lot longer. So we know that. We just hope to build a community that trusts us and keep doing everything we can to prove ourselves trustworthy. And that's who we've been. So we're learning to be comfortable with what we can't control to an extent. But we know that it's harder for an investor when they're not in the room with the team. They don't really know. It's understandable what most people want.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. But I also like to see the people that aren't going to be long-term community members go ahead, sell your stuff. So that's where I'm at. I don't mind. I can hold and endure for a long time for a project that's legit. Sometimes that's how I've made my money in crypto. Sometimes not. Really depends. You got to figure out your risk tolerance and your portfolio allocation. It's different for everybody. But what works for me, and I think a project like Chain Factory is definitely something long-term. Hope you guys make it. But no, it sounds like you will.
We will, because what we're doing, and we know we're committed to it. But totally understand.
100%.
We're so invested in this. It will work. I look at Nathan, I'm like, he is one of my best friends. Good Christian on the team. We are pouring our over a year. It's gonna work. Like, it's gonna be worth it. Like, I literally have keep buying our token because I know it's gonna be worth it.
It's like the same thing why I'm bullish personally on DeFi-Logic, because I'm obsessed, and you have to be obsessed with these things that you're building. And if you are obsessed and you're like, dude, I'm gonna make this fucking thing work, you know what I mean? No matter what, it's going to work, dude. It might not look the way that you thought it was going to look at the beginning, but it's going to work.
Yeah, you're going to find a way.
Have a mind of their own. Yeah.
You're going to evolve and you're going to grow and adapt to whatever changes come, because there's things we can't control. But absolutely, we're going to make it work. 100%.
For sure. Yeah, I think one thing that would be interesting to talk about just quickly would be upfront DeFi, because you guys already have a working product in the space. So just briefly talk about that and the success with that and how that project's going.
Yeah, so Upfront DeFi it was the first project, and it was birthed from frustration in DeFi. The people who joined, and even the core team, we had been part of far too many ROI Ponzi dApps that we thought were going to be great, and they were sold perfectly just to get us to hang on long enough to lose a bunch of money. And we got frustrated, and we said enough is enough, and we found each other through that. And a system is zero Ponzi, ROI app that people can put their money into. Once there's windows once a month that you can invest your funds, and then those funds are taken and they're used in investing. And there's nothing else to it other than that. We've been doing great. It's been over a year now since we've had our first app open, and returns they were really great to start, and then they dropped to around 3% a month, and then they've started to come back up again. And so really it's just what the market can bear and how the trading goes in that month. And so we're doing what we can to try and have a positive difference in the space with Upfront.
For sure. So what's the average ROI, or I guess APR or APY, in terms of what you guys are looking at over there?
I think it's probably around 5% a month is what we're averaging here right now.
And there's no sunk cost.
Not bad.
Yeah. You can withdraw at any time. So it's like very good considering that.
And what type of assets are accepted? Just stables or?
A stable USDC is what you can invest in either Binance or Polygon are the two dApps that are open.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Yeah, I was checking it out a bit. And before we wrap up, I saw you guys got a new website today.
We did. We updated the landing page. We actually updated it. Gosh, when did we? A couple days ago. We didn't say anything because it's polished. We're still waiting on a few graphics to get fully updated. So we were waiting, but then I was like, it's Factory Friday. We try to have Factory Fridays, and people were going to bullish on some buys that came in on the chart. So I was like, hey, let's just tell everybody, hey, we got a new landing page. Yeah, the landing page is.
Some of those buys were me, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
I was wondering. I was excited.
You were?
Now I know. I'm going to try to figure out which one you can never sell.
That's all right. I got 5 or 6 wallets I have right now, so good luck.
Better than believe it, I have.
Good luck trying to figure it out.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
Christine had some questions.
Let's see what she has to say here in the chat.
One of hers was good about what do you do when you get an inflood of business? Yeah, I think that's legitimate. I think that's one thing that has been good is our slow growth has been helpful because our team isn't massive. We've been adding team members like McFly. We added him on to try to help with some of the service because one thing we realized is we can create this non-code blockchain building infrastructure. But the truth is, if you know nothing about a project, it doesn't necessarily help to just have a non-coder like builder. You need to understand why you're doing what you're doing, how to navigate it. So a huge part of what we are, because where we came from, is we want to create a healthy community. We want to assist and help people. That takes a lot of time. So that's the biggest challenge is just if you grow too big and you have a lot of legitimate projects coming at you or people, do we have enough people to assist them and not burn out with just constant communication? And we've noticed we've had a lot of projects that have come to us, or teams I should say, and launched projects and it hasn't gone that well. Maybe they didn't take all of our advice or they didn't do like what we thought they should. And then sometimes you can feel like it was like a waste of your time to give your wisdom and then it maybe isn't received well and then doesn't do well. Not that we know everything, but we're learning more with every token launch, especially what are things to think about and what are things to communicate to a community and how do you stay engaged during the tough times. So I would say, I don't know, Nathan, what would we do if we had just an influx? If we're being honest, it means you have a little less service, a little less white glove treatment. Right now is the best time to get the maximum amount of service from our team because we have more time. So there's less launches in the market right now. But
I think it would be a supply and demand type scenario, just like everything is, right? If we have a massive demand for people wanting a white glove treatment, because not everyone's going to want that. A lot of people might come and you won't even talk to the teams. They might just build the token and we might not have any idea who they are. Yeah. If that happens, the beauty of the software is it's no extra work for us. And so if we do have a massive influx of people wanting to use the software, but also to get our advice and get that white glove treatment, like Ben said, we've got McFly there. He can try and filter out some of that and make sure that it's legitimate. And then he passes it on to us. Now, if we had to add more people into the mix, I don't think that is outside of the realm of possibility because we have a lot of good people that we trust in the space and that we know through this upfront community. So whether they would want to help or not is another question. But for me, I would be looking to people that I know and that I trust to be able to start having those conversations and show people how to build a token and do that white glove treatment to help get their project the best chance of success possible. I would say we would grow. If there's massive demand, then we're going to grow and we're going to do what we can to service the people that have put their trust and their faith.
And we're trying to create in videos and tutorials. Nathan does a great job with a lot of tutorials so that there's less need for human interaction. We added an AI bot to our Token Forge, and that's always evolving and getting better. And so, of course, a lot of it would become more automated. Hopefully, there'd just be more tutorials, so there'd be less of the need for always one-on-one engagement. And then, of course, one-on-one engagement with our team would probably come and that'll evolve over time, depending on how worthwhile it is to a project to really have some one-on-one VCs with our team and things like that.
Yep. Increased price. Tom F. Jones is saying in the chat. It seems like you guys know him. But yeah, so it's definitely a benefit in that sense. You can just charge a premium and then token holders will be happy.
Absolutely.
I think that's about the long and the short of it. Do you guys have anything else before we end?
Yeah, Kristen asked about community feedback and things like that. Of course, absolutely. We have our core team, but we also have an extended team with our moderators and just trusted individuals, advisors, and the community at large. Be on VCs and open the mic and hear people's inputs, and we love good advice and always willing to evolve and adapt. We just want the best project possible. So absolutely, we're all community engagement, especially when it's a good idea.
For sure.
I think you guys had a lot of great questions and just a great opportunity for us to show who we are and what we've got. So I don't have much else other than check us out. If you're watching this and you're not sure, look, if you had a great idea, reach out. We can always talk with you and try and go through your token building process.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming on, guys. And maybe we'll have you guys back in the future when you have a little bit more to listen on and fill in the folks on YouTube. Thanks for coming. And we will have all the links in the description on YouTube for Chain Factory.
That's awesome. Thanks.
We will see you next time for sure. Anytime.
You guys.
Yeah.
Adios.